Hello and welcome to Y Media Political Sensex. I am your host, Ramona Singh, and big news for Canada when it comes to traveling domestically within Canada or internationally for Canadians. Well, essentially the mandates for vaccination has been dropped. It's a very significant news that was put in place last year for COVID measures federally, where you needed to have a vaccine passport to be able to travel on plane or via rail throughout Canada, as well as to leave Canada to go internationally. That was very significant as we saw protests happen earlier this year when it comes to some of those mandates. And today is the day where the federal government made their announcement. Well, here are some of the stats that they gave for the announcement they made. So up to now, they call the vaccination campaign in Canada very successful, as 32 million people in Canada have been vaccinated. That's nearly 90% of eligible Canadians that have been vaccinated against COVID-19. Very significant numbers. And if you imagine that COVID has been around here in Canada as of March 2020, and in this time frame of 2.5 years, whoever was going to get vaccinated has already been. Whoever's decided not to be vaccinated will probably not get vaccinated now after all the changes and all the mandates and lockdowns and everything we've been through in the past couple of years. So as the federal government has said that it's a successful vaccination campaign with 90% of Canadians vaccinated, the highest number amongst other countries. And they say that rates of hospitalization and deaths have decreased across the country due to the vaccination campaign. Then they've decided that as they've monitored the situation, and the federal government says that all the decisions they made was based on sound and expert advice of science and research, and that's the reason they made those decisions about a vaccination passport to be able to travel within Canada or leave Canada, whether it comes to getting on a plane or getting on a train. And for those reasons, they're saying that now, as they've looked at the science and they've seen that the pandemic evolve, so has the public health measures. And the latest public health measure is to suspend vaccine passports. So what does that mean? As of June 20th, so not too long from now, around the corner, the government will suspend vaccination requirements for domestic and outbound travel, that's international, leaving Canada, and federally regulated transportation sectors and federal government employees. Very significant because it was a promise by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in the last election in 2021 that was held this last fall, and put in mandatory for federal government employees to have a vaccination passport to be able to go to work. This is going to be dropped suspended as of June 20th. Very important news. When it comes to suspension of vaccine mandates, they're saying that it's based on what the numbers are now for COVID and public health numbers. But we have a video from the federal government announcing this suspension of vaccines. Take a look. It's an upbeat video. I want to share it with you. June 20th is the date, and 90% of Canadians have been vaccinated. and the most vaccinated numbers compared to other countries. And given that other countries don't have the same vaccination rate and number of cases, well, the federal government has decided that when it comes to foreign travelers, international travelers from other countries coming into Canada, they still need to have their vaccine passport in place. And so that is going to stay as is. They're saying that this will reduce the potential impact of international travel on the healthcare system if they come here and they're sick in that case, and also to be able to spread any of the virus from international travelers. So that's going to stay as is, and it will be enforced on planes and trains for international travel. And when it comes to wearing a mask, that is also going to stay in place for public health measure. So wearing a mask is still going to be in place, but no longer a vaccine passport. Now, I'm going to go through the guidelines of what's been announced, and this is who it affects. So as of midnight Eastern Standard Time on June 20th, 2022, the vaccination requirements to board a plane or train in Canada will be suspended. When it comes to additionally, federally regulated transport sector employers will no longer be required to have a mandatory vaccination policies in place for employees. So that's federally regulated transport sector employees, okay? Due to when it comes to cruise ships, they're saying that due to its unique nature, vaccination requirements for passengers and crew of cruise ships will continue to remain in effect. So nothing's changing when it comes to cruise ships, when it comes to passengers and crew of cruise ships. Masking and other public health protection measures will continue to be in place and enforced on planes, trains, and ships. So you will have to wear your mask, even though you don't have to show your vaccine passport. And current border measures, including existing vaccination requirements for most foreign nationals to enter Canada, and quarantine and testing requirements for Canadians who have not received their primary vaccine series will remain in effect. So that is not changing for Canadians who have not received their primary vaccine series, and also foreign nationals who are entering Canada when it comes to quarantine and testing requirements are in place. So for Canadians who do not have their vaccine, the testing is in place for when it comes to travel. So that is where things are at on this big announcement today. When it comes to federal public service, when it comes to employees, well, it's saying that the core public administration, the CPA, including the RCMP, this regulation of COVID-19 vaccination is also, a certification is suspended. So that's for the RCMP and the core public administration. When it comes to employees of the core public administration, it is still encouraged for them to be vaccinated if they're not, but they will no longer be required to they will no longer require vaccination to be the condition of employment. So this begs the question of people who've lost their employment given to their vaccination status, what it means for them. But going forward, it's no longer a condition of employment. And when it comes to employees who are on administrative leave without pay for non-compliance with the policy in force until now, will be contacted by their managers to arrange their return back to their work duties. So I guess if you're federal government employee, that if you were sent home and you were on leave without pay, then now is a chance to be able to go back to work. So massive changes here that affects, we're talking about tens of thousands of people. When it comes to Crown corporations and separate agencies, they've also been asked to suspend the requirements as per the announcement today, and also personnel accessing federal government workplaces, having a vaccination requirement is also suspended. If you recall, just earlier this month, a Conservative MP was removed from Parliament Hill over her vaccination status. That is MP Vagenthal. She is from a Saskatchewan riding of Yorkton. Melville, she's been there since, she's been the MP since 2015. Well, when she went to work, she drove. She drove from Saskatchewan to Ottawa in Ontario because she wasn't able to get on a plane or a train to get to her place of work as an MP, and she was asked to leave Parliament Hill because she has not shown her vaccination passport. Now, now that this comes into effect, it has changed. That is the MP Wagenthal from Saskatchewan riding of Yorkton Melville. Essentially now, based on the standard that was occupational health and safety on Part 2, the regulation was for the Canada Labour Code to make vaccination mandatory in all federally regulated workplaces, and it will no longer be the case moving forward as of June 20th. So it's a massive, massive news. When it comes to the Government of Canada, they're saying they will not hesitate to make adjustments to what they've proposed today based on public health advice and science, and they're saying that they want to keep Canadians safe as the most important thing. So this also means that things could change based on vaccination mandates at the border, or reimposing of public service and transportation transport vaccination mandates, what we had before, what we actually have right now until June 20th. They're saying that they will not hesitate to reverse and reimpose it again if science and public health numbers show otherwise. We have the Minister of Transport, Omar Algalbra's message. It's a very quick bite, but we're going to play that for you as things have changed. We've already actually played that for you. It's that little video with the subtitles of the changes that are made with the upbeat music. That was from the Minister of Transport's social media handle. And that is what are all the changes that were announced today. This is Why Media Political Sensex. I'm your host, Ramona Singh, and everything that has to do with politics here in Canada, you can rely that Why Media Political Sensex will bring you all the news you need to know for what your MPs, what your ministers, and what your government officials are doing here in Canada. Stay well and take care.